What fragrance to wear this winter? Here are 5 that I'll be using. And each fragrance represents a category. A cheapie, an office scent, a date fragrance, something for going out / partying, and finally something for myself to enjoy during these wintry evenings. And the first scent is the cheapie. Boucheron, Jaipur, Homme, Eau de Parfum. It's a warm, spicy, creamy gentleman's scent for a cozy winter. Smells mature in a good way and without a shadow of a doubt could be a signature. Opens up spicy and creamy with the cinnamon and sandalwood, has a bit of a floral touch, a bit of greenness with pretty average projection. But it lasts. On me it smells a bit designery but still with that characteristic cinnamon sandalwood combo that lasts for about 6 hours until it turns into a quite serviceable skin scent. Doesn't project anymore, but when up close it's still fairly noticeable. And on the next day I basically get just a super weak, faint, ambery vanilla. That's about it. If you're on a budget but want to smell way better than you should, this is one to try out. My office scent pick is Histoires de Parfums Irreverent. Resinous, dark, ambery. It's fairly dry and sweet. Usually you wouldn't recommend a sweet fragrance for the office, but keep in mind that we are talking about winter here, so something warm and inviting will do just fine. Besides, you can wear whatever the hell you want for the office, as long as it's not too strong. So it starts out resinous, sweet, dusty, dry, ambery, with a fair bit of projection. And it smells quite linear most of the time. In the beginning it's a bit more citrusy for the first half an hour. At around 2 hours it turns into more of a strong but still skin scent and gradually reveals more of the spicy woody ambers and powderiness while sitting ever so closer to skin. Until the next day where it becomes a barely noticeable ambery vanillic scent. And that's mostly it for me. It may seem that the fragrance is way too simple and linear from the description, but trust me when I say that it's quite rich, deep, and what it does really well. It's one of my most worn fragrances, period. So it has to mean something when I have a collection of more than 100 scents. And now a date scent. It actually could offend some of you. Etat Libre Homme of Finland. It's dirty latex and iris with a deep almondy bitterness. You may think that this is not a great date fragrance, and I would mostly agree with you. There's just way too much skanky dirtiness going on there. If you don't know the preferences of the person you're dating, probably don't spray this. But I happen to know the likes and dislikes of my sweetheart, and she quite enjoys it. Besides, there is an appreciation of sorts on Tom of Finland's art between us. This fragrance opens up, as I already said, latexy, irisy, bitter, but also quite skanky. Definitely fits both the house and the subject matter. During the next hour or so it becomes a lot more palatable and starts to reveal its dryness, powderiness, a bit of metallic scent, but it's still dominated by latex. At the 4-hour mark it turns into a fairly noticeable skin scent. Dirty latex, heavy, creamy iris, and an undeniable bitterness in the background. Lasts like this for about 7 hours, and on the next day you still get a fair amount of this smell. Can't say this is for everyone and definitely cannot recommend it as a normal date scent. It is quite naughty in its nature, so if you and your partner are at least a little bit to the degenerate side, I would at least try it out. A going out scent should be loud and attention grabbing, and that's exactly what Terence Hughes Slut does. It's sweet, clean, loud, and long lasting. Starts out with a pretty harsh lemony opening that has a definite sweetness going for it. Not a huge fan of it though. What I am a fan of is the dry down. It stays pretty strong for around 5 hours. The lemon, citruses, they kind of fade away a bit and make room for the clean, ironed linen smell, plus also the ambery, spicy, woody base that's very much characteristic to Aaron. And actually this part hits way different in sub-zero temperatures Celsius. I just love it. And about 10 hours is how much it lasts as a fairly noticeable skin scent. A bit ambery, musky, clean ironed fabric, a bit dry, latches onto clothes quite easily, so in that way it lasts for days. Another signature scent worthy fragrance and a great introduction into Terence Hughes as a brand if you ever decide to check his stuff out. And for myself, I'm getting something that most people probably wouldn't like. Molinard Patchouli. And this is a beautiful soliflor. That is, a fragrance that's based on a single note, which in this case is patchouli. And guess what? It smells of patchouli. Medicinal, earthy, woody, a bit floral, has a bit of dirtiness going on there. The opening is strong, undeniably medicinal and dirty. It's a bit too much even for me, but it's still beautiful. Dark, brooding, rich. Within an hour it becomes considerably less projecting, and at this point I really start to enjoy it. At around 3 hours it mellows out a bit and turns into a dark, medicinal, earthy skin scent and basically stays like this until the next morning. This is a fragrance for expanding your horizons. At first I hated it. Now I quite like it. Definitely not my favorite scent out there or even in this list, but I want to explore it and get to know it a bit better. I would love it if it had some incense and amber to it though, and that's exactly what we're exploring in this video about Encens Roy by Histoires de Parfums.